On today's episode, you're going to find out how I got into reptiles. Why not? I mean, I'm always telling you about reptiles. Where did I get? Where do I get off telling you about them? Anyway, we're going to find out. All right, so let's get started. I mean, from the beginning, why not? When I was a kid, everybody's, parents have, cats and dogs and things like that. Well, I mean, we did. We had, cats and, sometimes dogs, things like that. But, we almost always had reptiles. So, we had Burmese pythons and red-tailed boas and, we had some baby gators when I was a kid. We had gators for a while as well, and you're gonna say, oh, whatever happened to the gators? Do you have them? Does your dad have them? Does anybody have them? Honestly, I can't tell you. I was a little kid when we had those gators. I remember them. I remember putting them in a little, it's called a kiddie pool, and letting them swim around and catching minnows and things like that. But past that, and the fact that their teeth are quite sharp even when they're small. That's about all I can tell you about them, as far as my personal experience in owning, gators. We had them for a while. We didn't have them for a very long time. I know that they passed on to someone else in my dad's side of the family, I believe, from what I know. I don't know. Maybe like I say, it's been years. Anywho, I do remember, however, my dad almost always had, Burmese pythons. And so a couple of my uncles had Burmese and red tails, and then my grandpa even had a Burmese python. Some of my family had tarantulas and things like that as well. So I grew up around those things. And I learned to respect reptiles at a very young age when I was a little boy, instead of, where, most of your dads tell you and your moms tell you, oh, be afraid, oh, you don't want to be around them. If you see them, kill them with a hoe. No, my parents told me, to respect them. You see them in the wild, and especially if you don't know what they are, just respect them and leave them be. Let them go about their way, unless, of course, you know what they are. And sometimes you can go and you can study them. That's what I do. If you wonder, like, why is he always out in the woods picking up these animals and things like that, I am studying their behavior, and that's one of the biggest things that I'm into as far as reptiles go. I love studying reptile behavior. That's what I'm into. I've been into that ever since I was a little boy. So, even when I wasn't playing with our own reptiles that we had, I was out there studying them in the wild. My dad taught me how to, track them, because, he was a hunter. So he taught me how to track them. And I didn't use them for the purpose that he used it for. I used it for purpose of making friends. When I was a little kid, I'd go out and visit different animals in the woods repeatedly on a regular basis, and just get to know their habits and keep a respectful distance until they were comfortable with me. And that was the main start, is when I really got into it. I would say is when I really started doing that. Now, I also caught snakes all the time, of course. I was a little herper, even as a wee lad, I would say. I was always a herper, and which explains pictures like this. Still love it. I still love it as much as I ever did. It's a little bit different now. Now I'm able to, I would say, to understand things that I couldn't when I was a child, obviously, so there's always something new to learn. When you're watching their behavior. Well, you can see their interaction between themselves and their surroundings, but also between themselves and you and other animals, things like that, but again, that's their surroundings. But so we are in their surroundings. The difference between, say, myself and maybe someone else who might just come upon them in the wood. Although, hey, plenty of reptile lovers out there. But is that, first, I'm not trying to squash something that I don't know what it is. I'm not just trying to kill something because I'm not sure what it is. Oh, there goes a snake. It must be out to get me. Let me step on its head. All that stuff is insane. That's insane. Why would you do that? So if you don't know a person, do you just immediately try to kill them? Okay. All right. So please. There's no reason for that. Anywho, so ever since I was a little boy, loved herping, loved going out in the wild, loved owning snakes, loved getting to know them on a personal level. And that was part of that, understanding their behavior. What better way is to live with them on a constant basis? And, there are people out there, of course, that like half of what I do, but then would say, oh, but what about keeping them in captivity? Is that really okay? Is that right? Well, to partially answer that question, I would say, of course. But really, the reason, one of the easiest reasons I can give would be axolotls. Now, I know they're not reptiles, but it's an easy example. Axolotls come from originally 2 lakes in Mexico, now just 1. And even in that 1 lake where they survived, or where they're still alive, they are not thriving. They are not thriving. They're doing incredibly poorly. And they would not exist at all, in a very short period of time if it wasn't for the pet trade, which, of course, captive breeding and is a constant thing. And you say, well, but what about keeping them from their lovely natural life? No, I'm not saying that natural life can't be lovely, because it can, but in more cases than not, for reptiles and amphibians, life is hard. It's very hard. But in captivity, not so much. If you keep your reptiles properly, and you treat them with love and respect, they're going to get a lot better than that. With that, that's a lot better than what they're going to get out there in the wild. So, I don't personally have any qualms with keeping them. However, I do agree with the thought that if you're going to get a pet, it should be a pet. So you get them from breeders. You don't get them from the wild, if possible. Now, obviously, you do have to bring fresh genes into the breeding trade, into the pet trade, or then you wouldn't have them in the pet trade anymore, and quicker than you would imagine. Or you'd be still just breeding the same genes and the same genes and the same genes. You'd probably end up with some positive outcome, but then also some negative outcome, because there's an issue with line breeding constant. Like, imagine if everything was just line bred forever. You don't think there would be an issue with that? I'm pretty sure there would be, but hopefully we won't have to know that, because like I say, you still have to supplement what we have already in the pet trade with some wild caught. But if you are looking for a pet, there are breeders out there, and that's why I believe in captive bred. But also, the reasons I stated are the reason why I believe that it's okay to keep them in captivity. A lot of times, the people say, well, it's kind of dishonest to say that it's for preservation's sake, because are you really intending to breed things and release them into nature? Again, it's all about perception. When it comes to that, it's, let's say if I'm breeding something, am I releasing it back in the wild? No, probably not. I'm unlikely to do that, truthfully, because that's what I believe in, the truth. You speak the truth, and the truth shall set you free, and whatnot. But honestly, no, I'm probably not going to do that. But you know what? They're still going to be alive. We're still going to have them. And obviously, if they had no home to return to, returning to the wild would have what point? I'm saying. So that's one of the places that's one of the place you really want to start when it comes to preservation. Preserve their natural home first, and then worry about everything else, because that's going to be the most important thing. Understanding the thing that you want to preserve, and I don't just mean for you to understand it, but for other people to understand it. That is the reason for this channel. That is the main reason for this channel. To share my love for reptiles, but also to hopefully ignite that in someone else, or at least to have enough understanding that you maybe won't be scared of something just because you don't understand it, because maybe you'll understand it, so you won't be so afraid. Beautiful things are hard to be afraid of. They really are. You have to actually, inside you, tell yourself, okay, you know what? It's beautiful. Keep your distance. Don't know how to handle this one, you know? Because, you know, people don't go out and say, oh, that's beautiful, and go and try to kill something. They do go out there and say, ugh, scary, and try to kill something. Or obviously, if it has a monetary aspect to it, a monetary gain, then that happens. But, you know, that's not me. What I'm here for is to enjoy the existence of all these beautiful things and to share that with you. And that's what I'm here for. But to go back, why do I know things? Where do I get off telling things? Okay, so I'm not a professional, I'm not a herpetologist or a biologist. I'm not. You know, I'm not a park ranger or not anything. You know, I'm nothing related to that. No. You know, I work at a hardware store. I've just spent my life enjoying and trying to better understand and studying the behavior one-on-one with all these lovely animals, and that's just what I want to share with you guys. That's what I want to share, and that's what that's what's made me so passionate about it, and that's what I want to give to you right here for free. So at the time being, because I'm not even monetized, all the time that I spent making all these videos and going out into the wild, you know, my average hike did, you know, for any given video would be about 4 or 5 hours, sometimes longer, sometimes 6 hours. I don't do the road cruising thing. Not that I wouldn't, but that's not, you know, if you've watched my channel long enough, that's not what I do. I explore the wild and find them in their home and observe them. And that's what I do. I find out, like, why are you here? There's so many, I find so many of certain species in close proximity to whatever type of conditions, whether they be a certain type of humidity, a certain type of heat, certain types of prey items, obviously. So, you know, certain you know, reptiles I find specifically in or around logs. Other ones I find in or around stones. Is there a reason for that? What is that reason? Things like that. You know, I mean, stuff enthralls me. I love it. And hopefully, you know, it'll ignite a passion in some of you too, because that was the whole point of this channel. And that's why, you know, after all these years years of studying all these animals, these beautiful animals, I just want to bring what I've learned and what I'm continuing to learn with you. So I hope you enjoy. And for now, let's feed a snake. Time for Leeloo the bull snake to get her grub on. Alrighty, so she is hiding. We're gonna try to coax her out a little bit. There she is. Look at her, she takes no coaxing. Get that out of the way. And she's got it. She never takes any coaxing whatsoever. She is an awesome eater. Little Miss Leeloo. Not so little anymore, actually, because she's about 3.5-ish feet long. So, anyway, I'll leave her alone and let her eat. Alright, so that's about it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed what you learned about this feller that's always taking you out on little expeditions and whatnot. And, hey, if you didn't, too bad.